What is it that truly makes Vermont unique? It ain't the mountains, it ain't the cows, it ain't the turning trees. It's the soul, it's the people, it's the folks who live out of the limelight. And those are the people that I want to have reflected in my books. The light came on as a writer in the fits of frustration and depression. I was working as the special projects editor, which of course explains nothing, at the University of Texas Press in Austin in the mid-70s. I typed 300 pages of just unutterably awful prose. I sent it off to New York. Response was, "This is one of the worst books I've ever read, but you have a nice voice." That, of course, was key to me because I understood that the writing process, much like the bike riding process, is something you achieve through practice. So I just wrote another horrible book and a third horrible book, but each one was a little less horrible than its predecessor, I hoped. And certainly various agents and editors, although rejecting those books, still pointed out, you know, they're getting better. And I went from 1975 to 1980. I'd like to say that then I broke out and got published. No, I just moved to Vermont because I needed to come home somewhere. And I didn't have a home because I traveled around so much. And Vermont was a natural place for me to roost. And the fact that Vermont has responded to me as I responded initially to it has been enormously compelling and heartwarming for me. For the first 8 years, I travailed as a U.S. historian. That was my training in college. And it kept the writing habit alive and well. And during the weekends or off times, I practiced on what became Joe Gunther. And it wasn't until 1988 that we finally managed to segue from histories to these police procedurals or mystery books. And then I've been turning out a book a year pretty consistently thereafter. I actually came to what I made Joe Gunther's birthplace, which was Thetford. That was the first place I moved to as a renter. I lived in this apple barn, which I then had one of the characters live in. And then 2 years into that process, I moved down to Brattleboro, in large part because Brattleboro offered me the canvas on which I wished to paint as a writer. It was quirky, it was vibrant, it was artistically alive, it had the kind of energy that I was seeking. And I didn't end up living in Brattleboro in a funny kind of way because you don't want to sleep in your own lavatory. But I live right outside, and I'm in Brattleboro on a regular basis, almost a daily basis. And it has never stopped nurturing me. Given my other jobs as a police officer, as a death investigator for the state, my writing day falls third in line to whatever emergency might crop up. I respond to crises, much as my characters do, and therefore I write in cars, I write at 2 in the morning, I write in other people's living rooms, I write whenever I have an available half hour. And thus, when I stop writing, I will try, don't always succeed at this, but I will try to finish my writing in mid-sentence so that when I resume, I have to finish that sentence, and that immediately has already got the wheels going and I can keep on from there. I write books about us, you, me, people I know, people under stress, people in the throes of conflict resolution, people who have made some very poor decisions and are living through them. I am a social anthropologist more than I am a murder mystery writer. So if someone comes to me and says, I don't know, I wasn't crazy about that last book because I figured out the ending, I kind of go, well, isn't that a reward? Good for you. I don't actually care that much about that aspect of it. I am unimpressed. I'm amazed by, but unimpressed by murder mysteries that end with, aha, you are the murderer because you have one blue sock and one green sock and blah, blah, blah. I'm more interested in why people do the things they do and how they respond. Once, as Tennessee Ernie Ford once said, the ship hit the sand. When I'm asked, how do you see yourself? What do you do? What is in fact your purpose in life? My first instinct is to answer to be of use. That's how I see what I do in all my various wearings of hats, is what have I done for my fellow human being? I'm a guy advancing in years who comes from those of the philosophy of, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I have rarely heard truer words. 30 years and 24 books, because I just finished my latest entry, and I barely feel I've scratched the surface. Yeah. So it's when people ask you, so how do you get your ideas, or what are you going to write next? And I say, well, I've barely begun. Barely begun.